Hey everyone, I'm Rachel.
I'm Pooja.
And we'd like to welcome you to our first episode of
Two Girls in the Dark.
This is a true crime podcast, and I think it's going to be pretty special. We got a couple of good episodes lined up this season. We got a variety of different types of mysteries. It's going to be good.
Our first episode will be about none other than Anthonette Cayedito. You may be familiar with this case from Unsolved Mysteries and some other fun podcasts. But we'd love to talk about this one ourselves, so let's get to it.
Damn, that was good. It's 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, April 6th, 1986. It's quiet in the town of Gallup, New Mexico, but soon that will change. Groggy from being out the night before, Penny Cayedito gets out of bed and begins to wake her 3 young daughters up and get them ready for Bible school. Her 2 youngest daughters, Wendy and Sadie, get up and get ready for the morning, but the oldest girl, Anthonette, is nowhere to be found. Penny asks her neighbors if they've seen Anthonette. She has to be around somewhere, but no one has seen her. Now panicking and reality setting in, Penny calls the police. For 3 days, Penny, with the help of her neighbors and the police, searches the surrounding foothills without a single trace of Anthonette to be found. It's becoming certain Anthonette has been kidnapped.
At the time, Anthonette was a 4th grade student at Lincoln Elementary School. She was considered to be wise beyond her years, cooking meals for her younger sisters, ironing their clothes. Friendly and caring, Anthonette was also known to be a good friend to her peers. She was a good student, enjoyed sports. She loved the color purple. Like many kids of the 80s, she liked to listen to Michael Jackson. Her nickname was Squirrel. Time seemed to drag on forever with no sight of Anthonette. Penny and her other 2 daughters waited for a long, agonizing year, and finally, one night, reached a light at the end of the tunnel. But it wasn't an entirely optimistic one.
Police Department. Hello. I'm Anthonette Cayedito. Okay, whereabouts in Albuquerque? Who said he could use a boat? Hello? Anthonette, where are you?
This was a call made to the Gallup police station. The caller identifies herself as Anthonette Cayedito and that she's in Albuquerque. But before the operator can get any information from her, the call is cut short by someone. Where could this call be coming from? Could this person be who kidnapped Anthonette? And was this caller really Anthonette? When the police brought the recording to Penny, she believed it could be her daughter, but the male voice she couldn't quite figure out who that could be. On the call, Anthonette claimed to be in Albuquerque, but unfortunately, the call was too short to be traced. That would be the only call from this caller to the Gallup Police Department. 4 excruciating years had passed without any insight into where Anthonette could be. The FBI released 2 computer-enhanced photographs of what Anthonette may look like at 14 years old. There had been a few sightings of her, but none of these could be confirmed. There was one that stuck out, though. In 1991 in Carson City, Nevada, a waitress at a restaurant encountered a teenage girl matching Anthonette's description, in the company of a couple that was rather disheveled. This girl kept knocking her utensils to the floor, and each time the waitress came to pick them up and put the utensils back on the table, the girl would grab her hand and squeeze her tight. Once this group left, and the waitress went to clean their table, she found a napkin under the plate of the girl, which contained a message. "Help me. Call the police."
1 month after this sighting, detectives decided to interview one of Anthonette's younger sisters, Wendy, again. She was 5 when Anthonette disappeared. Maybe now at 10, she could remember a little bit better of what happened. Wendy did remember what happened, and so she told investigators. It was the middle of the night, and there was a knock at the door. Wendy followed her big sister. Anthonette asked who was there. The voice said, "Open up, it's me, Uncle Joe." So, thinking it was her uncle, she opened the door. 2 men grabbed her and took her to a van and drove away. Wendy hadn't told anyone what happened, because she didn't want to upset anyone any more than they already were. She had seen her mom crying. She thought she would get in trouble. Detectives believed Wendy was telling the truth, and that's how Anthonette was taken. They interviewed Uncle Joe, who was married to Penny's sister. He cooperated and provided an alibi and a witness corroborating his alibi. It couldn't have been him. Based on this, investigators concluded that whoever took Anthonette were not family members, but close to the family. They knew enough to know who Uncle Joe was, and that Anthonette was awake and wouldn't have opened the door for just anyone. But Anthonette did open the door, and she did vanish into thin air, possibly still alive, but not confirmed. She was gone, yes, but something just wasn't adding up.
Her case would go on to be featured on Unsolved Mysteries in 1992, which is where I first heard about the case. It always scared me to think how terrifying it was to be taken in the middle of the night. But now, my biggest question as an adult, aside from where is Anthonette, is who answers the door in the middle of the night? Now, this isn't a dig at Anthonette or victim blaming in any sense, but if it's past a certain time and I'm not expecting company, you can bet that I'm not answering a knock at my door. If this were back where I was 9 years old, my first thought would be to get my mom. Now, when looking at this case beyond face value, it becomes quite clear. There's got to be more, a lot more, to Penny's account of the night. Like I had mentioned at the beginning, Penny had been out with her friends at a local bar the night before. That itself isn't anything crazy. She didn't leave Anthonette alone to watch her sisters. She hired a babysitter who left once Penny got home. But her original story of not finding out that Anthonette had not been in the house until 7 a.m. when the family woke up, that's not entirely true.
That night, after Penny had come home around midnight, she and the girls stayed up for a while despite having to get up early for Bible school the next morning. Anthonette's sister Sadie recalled her mother and Anthonette staying up to play cards, which was unusual. At 3:30 a.m., there was a knock at the door and on the bedroom window of the Cayedito home. This was Ron Perry, a friend of Penny's, who claimed he was checking on her after they got into an argument at the bar that night. Perry said that he then left and spent the night at the home of a friend who corroborated this. Shortly after, there was a second knock at the door. Penny had never told investigators about this second knock until she was interviewed by the FBI in 1994. I told her to go ahead and answer it, Penny said. I laid there for a period of time, maybe 30 minutes, and Anthonette never came back. I got up to see where she was, but I couldn't find her. According to Penny, this was at some point between 3:30 and 4 a.m., and that it was just getting light when she got up half an hour later. If this is true, this greatly contradicts her original account of waking up at 7 a.m. to find Anthonette gone. There was another thing Penny left out as well. She had failed to mention to the authorities that a man by the name of Emiliano Gardella, or Emo, had given flowers to Anthonette 3 times in the days leading up to her disappearance. She only thought to even mention this after a family member had brought it up during the police search.
Later in 1994, Penny confessed to the FBI that she had been involved in her daughter's abduction. She asked, "What if me and Emo did this? Would we both go to prison?" She stated that she and Emo got together on a plan prior to Anthonette's disappearance. She wanted to know where the abduction would occur, but was told that it was better that she didn't know. Despite this confession, and despite the FBI believing that Penny was involved, she was never actually charged with Anthonette's disappearance, and she passed away in 1999. Anthonette's abduction tore her family apart. Her sister Wendy said that her mother could barely talk about her missing daughter without getting intoxicated. This trauma led Wendy herself to live a life of drug addiction, alcoholism, and gang affiliation, even losing custody of her own children. However, fortunately, in 2007, she was able to turn her life around. Her other sister Sadie said in an interview in 2022 that it's hard not having closure, but if Anthonette were to be out there, she's safe, she has a family that loves her, she has sisters, we haven't given up.
Okay, so we're back. Let's recap real quick. The Who, we've got Anthonette Cayedito, 9 years old. She's a 4th grader. She's missing. She disappeared from her home after answering the door at 3 a.m. to someone called Uncle Joe. This was on April 6th, 1986, in Gallup, New Mexico. And the why? Let's talk about it.
Let's dig into that. So there are a couple theories here. I think the most prevalent one, based on the evidence, is that her mom, Penny, had something to do with it.
Yeah, you don't say something like, and what if I
did it?
What if I confessed? And nobody did anything about that. Okay, so
That's the really weird thing to me about, I mean, aside from just the whole thing being weird in general, and the voicemail or the call to the police department is just especially heartbreaking. But the thing that is just so weird to me, aside from how it could happen, is like, how if she confesses pretty much that she doesn't get arrested.
I also don't really understand the point of lie detector tests if they aren't really useful in corroborating information.
My theory is that lie detector tests, everyone knows they're bullshit, but that they're like more to intimidate and like to give police leverage. So like they could be like, oh, well, you failed the lie detector test, you must be lying. I don't know. I'm not a cop, so
Me neither.
I just do SEO.
I just watch a lot of SVU. SVU and SEO.
One thing I always kind of wondered is like, why would she go on Unsolved Mysteries if she did it?
Because that to me is clear. She did that so that she seemed innocent.
Interesting. So you think that she like did it so that like she could say that she didn't do it?
Yeah. I always think that. I've seen so many of these things where I'm like, maybe you're the problem. I just feel like given the way she thinks she's able to manipulate people, she thinks she can like kind of get away with being on TV, and that's enough to like manipulate herself out of, or manipulate other people to thinking like, oh, I'm a good mother and I miss my child. And maybe she does, but like she very clearly like, and then this emo giving Anthonette, that's so weird, that like giving someone flowers.
Yeah, I really wasn't able to find too much into that. And Unsolved Mysteries, I've learned over the years after like getting interested in cases and then reading more, they kind of take out a lot of information or gloss over certain things to kind of fit their narrative. Or maybe at the time of the case, I mean, Penny confessed in 94 and this was in 92, so I don't know, maybe that, it sounds like when she disappeared, the police knew about this, so I don't know. Who knows? But that's just so weird.
It is. I mean, like I think like it's clearly some kind of like human trafficking case, right? Like
yeah,
she sold or something her child, but why?
This has no basis in anything. This is what I remember reading on like the Sitcoms Online forum back in the day, and on I saw it again on Reddit before I put it in our notes, but I remember hearing that Penny had bought a car after Anthonette's disappearance, which is,
that's the kind of thing that like I feel like today, or at least from what I know from watching too much SVU, but maybe, I mean, like we're talking about the justice system nearly 40 years ago, but like that's the kind of thing where it's like you have that information. With what money did she buy the car? Can you not investigate that?
Yeah. It was probably a lot easier back in the day to slip through those cracks.
Yeah, especially if she's paying with cash. It's like...
yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
What's your opinion, Pooja, on that sighting of possibly her in Nevada? There were a couple others, but that seems like the only one that like stuck that could be.
With the waitress?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's plausible. I feel like, you know, if she's being trafficked, if she's being taken somewhere... why she's being taken north, I don't really understand, but I think it's possible. I also think that like that phone call like is so creepy to me even to this day, and like it's really hard for me to think that was someone prank calling.
Yeah, I always kind of lean towards hoax calls in like if there's like a missing person, and then but that one, I don't know, that person who's calling either has to be a great actor and a horrible person. But yeah, that definitely sounds real. And if if it were in Albuquerque, that would be fairly close. It's in the same state as Gallup. One thing that I remember reading is that so there's apparently more to that voicemail that was never released to the public.
Oh my God.
The investigators thought possibly that there was a woman.
But it does sound like a woman.
Really? I can't. Is this like a blue? Is it blue and black or white and gold? I think it sounds like a man.
What? The person that says, "Who said you could take that phone?" That sounds like a woman to me. And
really,
so much so that I thought, like, is that her mom?
Oh.
But why would it be her mom?
Yeah, why would she be calling if her mom was there?
Yeah. So, or like, but it sounds like a woman to me.
Interesting.
Which I'm not really sure. I mean, like, I think it's possible that there's like a woman involved in this trafficking ring. Like, I think that sort of thing is possible.
And if the sighting in Carson City was actually Anthonette, she was seen with
a couple.
A couple.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. So, right. So it's, and it would make sense, you know, she's seen with a couple. I'm sure, like, human trafficking, the way it like, one of the ways it can happen is that you appear to be with, like, your parents, and, like, there's no real help for you, like.
So that to someone who, like, just an outsider, like a waitress.
Yeah.
That you don't appear to be in danger.
Exactly.
Interesting. Because it would be a lot more suspicious if Anthonette were just with, like, some white guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Which is the way we see it in the movies, and that is when people get suspicious.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
There's another thing that I wanted to bring up. The fact that there were 2 knocks at the door. So it sounds like at the Cayedito household that there was, like, always, like, they stayed up late. Like, they, you know.
She's 9 years old. I don't think I was out here playing rummy with my mom at 9.
So one of the, I forget at the exact moment which sister it was, but she said that was weird that Anthonette was playing cards with her mom. So I wonder if she had.
Her mom was keeping her awake.
Her mom was keeping her awake. Told her to answer the door. They had the Ron Perry friend checking up on her. Who knows if, like, that was.
Yeah.
Like a check to see, like, hey, is this still on? And then, you know, she says whatever. And then, because Ron coming to the house and knocking on the door, and then when Anthonette was abducted, happened within, like, a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
It, like, happened very. So I wonder if that was a setup.
And who's knocking on doors at 3 a.m?
So that's what if it was just normal. Like, if Penny was someone who went out quite a bit, and that was just normal to have people over at those hours. And be up.
It just feels like that's not a safe way for someone to live.
It doesn't sound like the best home. Oh, there was another. This is like kind of a sad. I mean, the whole thing is sad. Sorry, that was a really stupid thing to say. But there was one note. Shout out to whoever commented this on the YouTube video of the Unsolved Mysteries. YouTube video. There's the part where the Penny and her sisters are looking for her the morning that she disappears. You can hear the sisters, and when the actors playing, I doubt that those were her actual sisters.
Probably not. It's
Unsolved
Mysteries.
Years had passed.
No.
But when I was watching it, I thought that they were saying Sarah, and I was like, these actors, like, they don't know the name. Like, it's not the name.
I don't know.
And then the commenter had said that they were calling out Squirrel, which was her nickname. And that just added, like, such a sadder
that's
element.
sad.
So I think one thing that's really easy to get caught up in these missing person and unsolved cases in general is the mystery and not so much the person. I think it's very easy for the actual person to be overshadowed by the mystery surrounding their disappearance. So just, like, knowing she had that nickname, it just
humanizes her. Yeah, of course, because we always do this. We never think enough about the victim and always think about the perp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think her sisters really know what happened.
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it.
It sounds like whatever Penny allegedly did, she kept away from her other 2 children.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it sounds like she was sold for money.
Yeah, but I just would. It doesn't seem like Penny had any remorse.
I wonder if she did, but just she couldn't do anything about it.
Because she sold her. That was the end. Yeah.
Or, like, maybe she thought that she would come back or something. I don't know.
Right. Maybe her little, what if I told you, was a last-ditch plea at being like, maybe I would get her back.
Yeah.
Do we think Anthonette's alive?
It doesn't sound good. I would love for her to be alive.
Yeah.
There's a... Are you familiar with the Johnny Gosch case? He was, like, one of the first kids on a milk carton.
Oh, yeah.
And he was kidnapped doing a paper route. And, like, years later, Johnny Gosch's mom said that he came back and said, like, I was in a pedophile ring. I couldn't come back because your lives would be in danger. So I wonder if there's, I don't know. I wouldn't want that to be Anthonette's future right now.
No.
It seems probably a little bit more likely that she has been deceased for these years, but I do believe that voicemail was her.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I feel like that felt very real.
Yeah.
And it felt genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they. Why can't, if all of this is like, you know, her mom's passed away, like, we don't know really what happened to her. I wonder what the harm is in releasing the rest of that voicemail.
That's a good point. I'm curious, like, what the other details of that would be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
What they could even
what else could be.
Like, I know there's a rule that, or I don't know if this is just an urban legend, but you can't release 911 call if someone dies. Although I'm not exactly sure if that's true, because I've heard, like, a couple of, like, 911 calls to 911 operators. So, don't quote me on that, anybody, please. But like, again, if she had died on that call, we wouldn't be talking about this. Like, I guess, like, maybe the mystery would be like, did this girl die on a 911 call?
Right.
But I wonder if something happened like that where it was like,
well, the call came after the sighting in Nevada, or it was in Albuquerque, right?
Yeah, the call was before.
So.
And then after that, they released the computer enhanced images to what she might look like at 14, which is what led the waitress in Nevada had seen it and had recognized possibly what had noticed similarities between Anthonette's enhanced image and the little girl. It
just feels like such a far reach for a waitress to, like, be doing it for press, you know?
Yeah, and they never released her name or anything.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, there's one thing on a slightly lighthearted note, because this is a little depressing one. I think the Unsolved Mysteries segment has the waitress, like, Anthonette or the little girl, like, throwing the utensils on the floor, and the waitress just, like, picking it up and putting it back on the table.
Well, well, that is what, as a waitress, that's what you should be doing. Probably.
That's nasty.
True. No,
get another utensil.
You're right. See, don't make me a waitress.
Cleanliness, not so much, but at least she has an eye for possible abducted children. Is there anything else you have to note about this case?
Let me think. Her mom did it. Her mom is to blame. I really do think so.
Yeah. That's the only, like, that's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, not to say that kids can't get kidnapped in the middle of the night, but that there's just too many signs pointing to the mom having some knowledge.
Yeah, the fact that her mom was awake, was engaging with her in the, like, minutes before, was, knew who had been talking to her child the days before, the two not, like, everything just points to Penny. And I rate the police really lowly on this one. It's a 0 out of 10 for me. Like, they really felt a bit lazy of an investigation, to be honest.
We do have a segment that I would, Pooja, thank you for bringing up that wonderful transition. I would like to rate police departments on this podcast, and I would like to rate I have an Uncle Bob who was a police officer, so I'd like to rate them on a scale from 1 to 5 Uncle Bobs. 5 Uncle Bobs being A-okay work, 1 Uncle Bob's not okay work. So you would rate them 1 out of 5 Uncle Bobs.
Oh my God, 0 if I could. No Bobs.
See, I feel like the police department did an all right job.
It's the FBI.
It was the FBI that was like, again, there's probably a lot we don't know, but I feel like the FBI was kind of the one who was like,
Yeah, that's true. The FBI was lazy.
And the police, again, this is all according to Unsolved Mysteries, they actually seem like on top of their shit and finding out that, like, Uncle Joe couldn't have done it.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess, like, sure. Okay, so you want me to give the police a better job?
I'd give them 4 out of 5 Uncle Bobs. The police.
Wow. The police, not the FBI.
Not
we
the
have to make
FBI.
that distinction.
I would
true.
give them 5 if they found her.
I think that the police were persistent about this case.
There will be a lot of cases on this podcast where you cannot say that about the police.
Yeah, no. I think the police, you're right. When you put it that way and you make the distinction, you're right. I think the FBI are not the police. It's so true. And clearly the FBI were like, we have better things to do than look for this little girl, which is weird because she was likely trafficked, and that is really bad.
Was human trafficking like a top concern in the 90s?
Weren't child abductions like pretty poppin'?
Well, abductions are like awareness about abductions.
Awareness about abductions.
That was prime time.
Right, prime time.
America's Most Wanted.
Yeah. Do you know where your children are?
Still in my body. Well, the eggs are still in my body. As of right now,
Rachel's not
getting
pregnant.
older. Well, everyone, that's going to do it for our first episode today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah.
And keep looking out for our content. If you like this episode, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
And if there's anything you think we should cover, let us know. Until then, we'll be here in the dark. See you in episode 2.